Today I'm looking cute. Today I'm looking cute. Hi guys, welcome to another episode. My name is Bahle and I am a young professional who's navigating this corporate world, and I want to take you along the journey with me. So as promised, today will be an educational video. Whoa, before you leave, come back. This will just be a high level application of the change management process or the change management journey. So please do stay with me. I'm certified with ProSci. ProSci is a change management methodology, or one of the change management methodologies that practitioners apply to manage their change management projects. So there are a lot of practitioners who still are able to practice change management without being certified, but I would advise that if you are able to get certified, please do, because during that certification you walk away with an amazing toolkit that has a bunch of surveys, questionnaires, forms, templates that will help you facilitate change management in your projects. All right. So there are 3 phases in change management. The first phase is, so I'm looking down because there is a placemat. It came with one of the toolkits. So there are 3 phases. It's preparing for change, managing change, and reinforcing change. So according to ProSci, there are 2 responsibilities. There's a responsibility for the business or the project owner or project management. They call it the technical side. And then there's a responsibility for change management, which is the people side. So from the technical side, they are responsible for designing, developing, and delivering the solution. And as change management, we are responsible for facilitating the process of embracing, adopting, and using this new solution that is being introduced in the environment. All right, so in these 3 phases, so for this video I'll use a very easy scenario or example. The change that this organization is going through is that they are introducing a new coffee machine. This organization sees that people are waiting too long to make coffee. There's a long line during the tea break for people waiting to use the kettle. People at reception are waiting way too long to make their coffee. So they realize that this is a problem. Okay, so the organization realized that this is a problem and we need to solve it. So they go to the technical team and says, we have this problem, our service excellence is being impacted, what can we do in order to improve our coffee making process? So the technical team goes out and sources a coffee machine. Right, so when we come in as change management, the business case is there, the success or the vision for the project is there. At the end of the day, we want people to make coffee quickly, right? So in the first phase as change management, we come in, we prepare for change. When we are preparing for change, this is where we are scoping the environment. This is when we use our stakeholder identification tool. The stakeholder identification tool is a tool that looks at who are the people that are directly impacted by this change, who will be doing something different as a result of this change. And then we also have the impact assessment, which gives us a picture of what type of impact they are going through. It could be a technological impact, it could be a behavioral impact, remuneration, job profile. So you also kind of have to assess that what type of impact this project is bringing. All right. So at this phase, we do our data gathering. So we meet with the project owner, we meet with the people that are part of putting this project together for them to help us understand who's impacted, how are they impacted, what is the scope, what resources are available for this project. That is very important. Who will be part of our enablement team. The enablement team are the people that will push this project forward and will help us to implement. All right, so the stages here say that you define your change management strategy. So all the information that we are gathering in this phase, we are putting together our strategy on how we are going to improve or how we're going to implement this change or support these people through this change journey. It's also where we prepare our change management team. As I said, we identify the impacted stakeholders. We also identify the enablement team. So this is where we now see who will be part, who will we be communicating with often. And then you also develop your sponsorship model. It's really important to have a clear and visible sponsor. This sponsor will be responsible for driving this project and also getting this project's needs and objectives in the right room and fight for this project. So they are able to source resources, they are able to speak for this project and also bring authority, a level of authority for this project. And when people see that this project is supported by a particular individual who has influence and a bit of some power, then there's a level of it pushes the desire for people to be part of this project. All right, so now we are doing our stakeholder identification for the coffee making process, and then when in our conversation we look at who will be directly impacted by this change. So maybe the first group of people would be the entire organization. Everyone in the organization is used to using a kettle when they're making their coffee. Now there is this dynamic, amazing coffee machine that has all these wonderful, wonderful features, but people don't know how to use it. They're not familiar with it. So now the coffee making process has changed for everyone. So we'll note the entire organization or coffee drinkers. Let's say that coffee drinkers, tea and coffee drinkers will now be impacted by this change. The second group could be the serving ladies. So we know that they are also part of the organization because they make coffee for themselves, but there's also people at reception. So now they need to know that this cup goes with this type of coffee. They need to know what menu options are available as a result of this coffee machine. So they are another group that will be doing something different or will have to learn something different in relation to this project. And then another stakeholder could be the the refreshment manager. Okay, so the refreshments manager now has to do something different as a result of this project, because initially they only ordered one type of coffee from one supplier. Now the refreshments manager has to use a different form from what they used to previously use because now they have to use a different service provider for this new coffee or the different types of coffees. So I'll keep it at 3 impacted stakeholders for this project. So now we know that we are focusing on the entire organization. We're focusing on our serving ladies as well as the refreshments manager. So now in phase 2, this is when we manage the change. This is when we use all the information that we've collected during our data gathering process, and we are now developing our change management approach. The change management approach looks at what plans are we going to construct in order to successfully help these people transition and adopt this new coffee machine or this new process of making coffee, tea and coffee. So Managing change looks at developing the change management plans, as I said. So there are 5 change management plans according to ProSci, and these are the plans that help you practically manage the process of change or the change management journey. So we look at the communications plan. The communications plan must not be confused with the marketing plan. It must not be confused with an advertising plan. It is a plan that speaks on positioning the project, which is answering the questions of who, what, when, and why. So it serves as positioning the project, but it's also about stakeholder engagement. We know that there are various conversations that need to be had as a result of this project and to make sure that this project sticks. So for example, if the servings manager now has to speak to procurement because they have to engage different companies to get contracts to see who will get the contract for supplying these new different coffees. So those are the type of engagements and meetings that are also reflected in the communications plan, because it's not only just about positioning the project to the entire organization, but it's to highlight or identify the engagement conversations that need to be had in order to facilitate this process. Like I've said previously in my previous videos, everybody has a role in the change process. So even if the procurement department is not directly impacted, but they are an enablement or an enabling stakeholder that will help facilitate this project. So another plan is a sponsor roadmap. Like I said, it's important to have a clear and visible sponsor who will support this project. So the sponsor roadmap is basically a roadmap or a list of activities that the sponsor will be involved in order to show visible and effective supports for this project. So it could be that the sponsor must be in the initial kickoff meeting. The sponsor must open up at this project activation. Maybe the sponsor must do walkabouts around the office to ask, are you doing okay? Have you heard about this project? How do you feel about it? So they are there to help facilitate this project, but also give a level of authority and also show that this project is supported. It's not just something that's happening by the way. The other plan is the coaching plan. The coaching plan is usually focused on the managers. So different organizations have different structures. Maybe some organizations or departments have supervisors, there's line managers, there's managers. So for this organization, we know that we have managers. So the coaching plan is focused on making sure that these managers are actually part of the process, that they are not overlooked and at this change. So that they don't hear about things at big meetings, but they are involved as part of the project. We also understand that people have relationships with their managers. So a instruction or a requirement that comes from the manager might be received better by the people if it's coming from the manager instead of the project team, because the manager knows the environment, they know what they're going through, so they'll be able to position it better to the people. So they help facilitate a two-way conversation and also filter information back to the project team to say that my people are not understanding, maybe your communications is not effective, maybe this tool is not integrating well with what we already have. So those are the type of concerns that the manager can bring back to the project team or the change management team to make sure that everything is seamless. So one of the main activities that the manager needs to kind of facilitate during the change process or the coaching part of the coaching plan is that they need to facilitate the ADCA assessment. So this ADCA assessment can be done as a success measure. So in the beginning, you assess the level of awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. We do know that at the beginning, these will not be as high because the project is starting, but it's also facilitated mid-project and also at the end of the project to see that are we improving or are we declining in our efforts to manage this change. The fourth plan is the resistance management plan. It's important for us to note that resistance is sometimes inevitable, so we need to be proactive in our process of managing resistance. Sometimes it's not someone saying, I'm not going to do this, I don't feel like it, no, I don't support it. Sometimes it's really like, I'm tired, there's too much change saturation, there's change fatigue, there's too much happening, I'm tired. So how do you deal with that type of resistance? It's not necessarily a resistance that's negative towards the project or people having negative feelings towards the project, but it's them communicating that there's too much happening. So the introduction of this change will then impact the daily operation. So now it's heavy on them. So there's various types of resistance that we need to look out for. Some of the plans help to curb those resistance, like the communications plan. We know that sometimes projects fail or people resist because they don't know what's happening, they don't know what this project is about, they don't know what to do. It's just happening and they're not being told about anything. So those are the type of ways that you can try and manage resistance. The last plan is the training plan. The training plan basically looks at how are we going to make sure that people have the skills, the knowledge, and the competency to now use this new solution. So for our coffee making process, we know that we can use flowcharts or infographics, stick them on the wall to say that these are different types of coffees. When you press this button, this is what's going to happen, this is how long you wait, this is what you add onto this and this and this. You can have the menus, you can have workshops that will promote this this new solution to the various departments. That is basically the requirements or the need for the training plan. It's for us to identify what tools people need, what information, skills do they need transferred in order for them to successfully transition through this change journey. The last phase, or the third phase, is the reinforcing change. We know that when we are going to introduce a change into an environment, it needs to be sustained over time. It makes no sense to buy a solution, to buy a tool, to think of this amazing new behavior that you need adopted, but it then sits on the shelf because people are not buying into it, people don't see the need, and people are not helped through the process of embracing this new change. So part of this process, this is where we collect and analyze feedback. This is where we do our pulse checks. This is where we see are there gaps in our implementation and what can we do to implement corrective action. We diagnose gaps and manage resistance using our resistance management plan that we have crafted for this project, as well as implement corrective actions and celebrate successes. So we're not only celebrating project successes for meeting our milestones, but we're also celebrating individual success because we know that people are stepping out of their comfort zones to help support this project. People have been doing or making coffee the same way for the longest time, so now we are asking them to embrace this new technology in order to help us be more efficient as an organization. So we need to also celebrate and bring recognition to the fact that they are now stepping out of what they used to know and embracing this new process. So basically that is a high level process of change management. These are the phases that help structure the process of managing change. Okay, and that is it with me and the change management process. I hope that you were able to get something out of everything that I've just said and you find it interesting. If you're looking into going into change management, that's just one of the methodologies that is applied, that is used to manage the change process and make the change process as exciting and effective for you as it will be for the people that you are supporting. So thank you guys for watching my video. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you guys in my next one. Thank you so much and goodbye.